along. Him play it in the day, him play it in the night. When the radio play, as hear him, them start catch them fright. Cause anything in play, ya know a boom, 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 boom. Get up, wake up, man.
Philip, do you notice a difference in programming between the media in New York and in Jamaica or Britain?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of difference. Britain is more geared towards reggae. I think there's a lot more audience for reggae in Britain than in America right now as it is. If there were more stations playing reggae in America, the audience might get bigger, but right now Britain is where most of the action is, and that's from all ends, from the production end and from sales end. Everybody tries to get their records in Europe. That's where most of the sales is right now for reggae.
Is there any such thing as a New York style in reggae?
Well, I haven't seen a style that I can say a New York style. There might be a New York sound for reggae, but I don't think there's such a thing as a New York style.
Could you explain this New York sound?
Well, every place has its own sound. Jamaica definitely has its own recorded sound, and that's based upon the musicians, the caliber of musicians that's being used in Jamaica, quality of the recording there. And that's the same thing in Britain. They have their kind of sound, which has been accepted. And here we have our own kind of sound, which I and a lot more people have took time to develop over a period of time, which has been accepted, sort of now. It's becoming more accepted as a reggae sound made in New York or made in America.
For example, DJ music depends a lot on style. Every 3 months or every 3 weeks there's a new style, the Horseman style, the Get Flat style. Are most of these styles imported, or do some of these styles originate in New York?
I can't really vouch. I wouldn't like to say that any style has been made here in New York and a style has not been made in New York. I don't really know, because it's with the DJ industry, it's a kind of people listen to other people and copy. So a lot of DJs throughout the world listen to cassettes of other DJs throughout the world, and if they like that DJ's particular style, they'll copy it. Like, an example is Brigadier Jerry was one of the most copied DJs around, and he was not a big person on record. He never made that many records, but Josie Wales and a lot of other DJs copied his style and made it big.
Many observers of reggae believe that reggae is stagnant right now because it's repetitious. Do you have any comments on this?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's stagnant because of repetition. The problem is that the people that are supporting the business now is more into one kind of style of reggae. There's a lot more styles of reggae being made, the styles that you'd like to hear. I mean, the more lovers rock or culture kind of reggae, but it's not being played anymore.
You mentioned the people who support reggae. Who are these people? Who are you talking about?
The people that buy the music, the people that go to the record stores and buy the people that go to the nightclubs, the dances. They determine what the DJ plays.
So are you therefore blaming the consumer for the stagnancy in reggae?
No, it's an actual cycle. You can't blame anyone. If the producers didn't make that kind of music, it wouldn't be played, and the people wouldn't buy it. And if the people didn't buy it, and it didn't get any airplay, then the producers wouldn't make it. So it's an actual cycle. You can't say, well, anybody's at fault. It just happens that way, and you have to wait out the length of its time, and it gets bored, and then people want to change a style.
Would you admit that since the death of Bob Marley, that reggae music has not been making the progress it was making during the 70s?
I wouldn't say so. People tend to believe that Bob was instrumental in making reggae big, right? But and they believe now that Bob has passed away, that it cannot continue in that same vein. But I disagree that it can still continue, but it's for companies or promoters to find that talent and uplift that talent and let it be accepted more.
But some people point to the fact that Yellow Man became the king of reggae after the death of Bob Marley, and some people point to this fact as proof that the music is going downhill. Do you think that radio presenters have the right to exercise censorship in terms of playing what they consider to be music which will promote reggae and therefore dump the so-called trash?
Well, Yellow Man, I wouldn't consider Yellow Man trash music. You know, it's like you have rap music in New York, which is now a major part of the industry, rap music. Reggae has been into rap for centuries. For years.
But the major criticism of reggae rap music is that it lacks coherency. It's just a series of rhymes thrown together, and there's no story. There's no beginning, middle, or end. And I believe that if the DJs would concentrate on being sort of poetic, like a calypsonian, where you can find a kind of story, that people would accept the DJ kind of music more. Do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, there is different levels of buying public. More of the ghetto people, the people from the ghetto like that kind of music. That's what they grew up with, rap music. DJ music is street music, you know what I mean? And it's street music wherever you go.
Are you trying to imply that ghetto people do not have the capacity to appreciate something which has coherency?
No, they appreciate all kinds of music, but don't you, you tend to stick to the kind of music like if you're in America and you hear a reggae tune, or whatever reggae song it is, played on a commercial station, you tend to say, hey, reggae is being played. Now, if you're from the ghetto and you're used to rap music, once you hear a rap song playing, that's what you feel. That's the energy you feel.
But rap music can be coherent. Rap music does not have to be incoherent.
I understand. Well, it depends on the level of rappers that's doing the music. I mean, Muta Baruka, you can't really describe him as an incoherent rapper.
I wouldn't classify him as a rapper at all. I'd consider him a poet.
It has, it's still based from the dance hall.
Now that Yellow Man he has seemed to have hit a brick wall, who do you think will be the new #1 DJ?
There's no real #1 DJ in this whole business because it changes from time to time. Today it might be Joseph Wills, tomorrow it might be General Trees. Right now, General Trees is the one that everybody's talking about in the business, on the business level and otherwise, But that may change if he doesn't have any lyrics to share after this, he might be out and somebody else will be in.
Do you think that DJ music has to graduate from the dance hall to the stage in order for DJ music to be accepted as a legitimate art form?
Well, it can graduate to the stage, but it can't forget its roots. It has to stay with the dance hall. Certain DJs have graduated to stage performance, but if they don't go back to the basis of their rap, which is the dance hall, they'll never stay and sustain their whole thing.
But in terms of commercial music, the people with the buying power do not identify with the dance hall. They associate violence a lot with the dance hall, and therefore a movement to the stage would change the image of DJ music. And then the image of DJ music would become more attractive, and when things are attractive, they're bought. Yellow Man, he made this transition, and Yellow Man became very popular. Yellow Man is probably the only DJ in Jamaica which could be identified in neighborhoods above halfway tree. Josie Wales is very popular. Welton area, Peter Metro, very popular. The records were popular, but they weren't popular. People didn't know who they were.
Well, that is based from Jamaica. The public in Jamaica that buys records or listens to music or whatever, they only heard a Yellow Man. They're uptown, and Yellow Man is the one that's being played on the radio the most, and he gets the most recognition. downtown, you can, people will tell you about Peter Metro and General Trees and everybody else. But uptown, they said, who is Peter Metro?
In terms of the New York scene, who is a top DJ in New York? We're talking about the original New York DJs. We're not talking about people who moved from Jamaica and started working out of New York. Who would you point to as the most talented?
I can't pause for a minute. Let me just answer it. Cut. Hello, studio. Well, as I say, as a local...
Hold on, we're running now?
All right, as a local DJ, a person that has made it here in New York, has been known here, I would say Michael Jarrett is the most popular, right? Popularity-wise, Michael Jarrett is popular. Sister Carol is the best DJ overall, whether male or female. She has performance, she has good lyrical content, and she has good record sales, right? Which and she is on a progressive move. She's trying to get better every time. Reverend Badu is a good dancehall DJ, and he is noted for his style, that deep rap,
What about Shinehead and Santa Rankin?
Shinehead, I figure Shinehead is as more of a singer. He has made his name as a singer singing Billie Jean. But I know he's a good rapper in the dance. He's a very good rapper in the dance. But I would give him that edge as a singing DJ.
Why are some DJs so popular in the dancehall and they never produce on disc?
Well, everybody's waiting on a producer to pick them up. I guess there are certain business problems that arises that that's why I never hear some of them on records, what they want and what the producer wants and stuff like that.
In Jamaican music, whenever one thinks of a producer, one thinks of a very unscrupulous character. There are many stories of producers ripping off artists. Is this a myth, or is there a reality? Is the unscrupulous producer a reality of reggae music?
Everything is a reality. It depends on how you look at it. Producers will always rip off artists, whether it be Jamaican producers or American producers.
Are we talking about ripping off reggae artists or artists in general?
Artists in general is ripped off. If you don't know what you're doing, it's a business, and there's people out there just willing to grab. It's if you don't know what you're doing and just jump right into it, you'll get ripped off, and I will not put the finger on any producer to say that he's a rip-off producer. It's how you approach a business. If you go and do a song for a producer, then you should deal with the right, paperwork up front, the contracts and stuff before you do it. Yeah.
A very common excuse used by producers for not signing an artist is that, listen, I do not have the facilities, I do not have the organization to do the work that needs to be done. So therefore it wouldn't be fair for me to sign you. Therefore no papers are signed, and the producer can drop the artist at any time, and the artist has no security. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, the producer won't sign anybody off the street. In Jamaica, there's thousands of guys that want to sing or a DJ or whatever, and they come in from off the street and they just want to do a song. The producer is granting them a favor by recording a song with them and spending his money to release it. If the song does make it, then the artist changes his whole outlook and says he's being ripped off. I've noticed that a lot of times. They change their whole aspect and say, well, the producer is ripping me off. But it's the producer he came to in the beginning and begged him to give him a chance, and the producer is spending his money up front. And the producer says, look, the song made a hit, okay, but you didn't make that money. I spent a lot of money in trying to make you into an artist. it will take more than one single to become an actual, making anything off the business.
Therefore, then, the producer does not strike me as being a true businessman in that he doesn't take a risk. If the record fails, then he will recoup his losses and the artist doesn't get paid. Do you think this is fair?
Well, that's how the business is run. If you study the music business in America, we'll take America as an example because they're one of the major industries of the whole thing in the music business. They will offer a group or an individual a contract based on you're a new artist, I'm saying, and they'll offer you a contract. The contract is based upon if the record makes it, then you will profit. They're giving you the actual break. If the record doesn't make it, then you're indebted to them. You owe them. They're trying to give you a break. So actually, the record company is just a vehicle in actually your product. You are the owner of the product. When they do it, they're just giving you your money up front. They're loaning you money like a bank, and then if you don't make it back, you owe them. You know what I'm saying? So when you do make it, and you surpass what you used or you borrowed to make the actual product, then you'll get money in return.
A lot of financial transactions in reggae is conducted in cash. There are very few records which are kept. I was trying to do some research. I was trying to find information on reggae. There are no statistics available. Do you think that this is retarding the music?
Well, the reggae is sort of different from the other kind of business in that sense. You don't have 100 major reggae record companies. Name how many major record companies there are. Major reggae record companies. Coxton is one. Dynamics, and there's a few others. A handful. So everybody else that does it is an independent. And independents don't have the kind of cash flow to be doing any sort of business that kind of way. Reggae is a sufferer sound. Everybody does it to try and make it, and then they expect to get a deal from one of the major companies. That's what everybody works towards. If you make it on your own, then the major company will pick you up. A big company like CBS who picked up Yellow Man was based on how he made it before, his track record, how many records he had sold with independent producer Henry Laws.
Yellow Man is no longer with CBS. What happened between Yellow Man and CBS?
Well, what CBS had expected, this is my outlook, this is not facts, this is what I surmise from the whole situation, is that what they expected of Yellow Man, he didn't actually come through with. They expected a lot more sales. But for Yellow Man, he has being on CBS has made him more of a star for doing shows. He gets more audience at his actual shows. A variety of audience.
Some people believe that Yellow Man became a star by shedding the dancehall image, by having a different sort of vibe to his music. Yellow Man did not abuse women in his lyrics. Yellow Man did not have the aura of violence about him. Yellow Man took to the stage, and Yellow Man entertained a crowd. People felt that they were getting their money's worth. He pranced up and down on stage. He made jokes about himself. And this is the root of his success, and that if other artists who are probably more talented than Yellow Man made the same transition, that they too could be signed by CBS or RC or MC, or for that matter, any major record company.
Yeah, that's true. Yellow Man was more of a performer. That's what makes him outstanding than most other DJs. How many DJs do you know that it can do a whole show on stage and actually perform? You don't just go and hear lyrics being said and the rhythm is being played. Yellow Man performs and the people watch him and they get the actual vibe. He's actually telling them something, you know, even if it's about himself, but he's a performer. That's what makes the difference. You know, a lot of other DJs actually only have the dance hall experience, and if they go on stage, they're cold. You know, they just do the same routine, and that's it. There may be a couple others. I don't want to, you know, say that it's Yellowman's only one, but there is other DJs that has a good stage appearance.
For example?
I would say Taryan. Taryan has a good stage appearance, you know. I've only seen him once, but he has the crowd with him, and that's what really counts.
Ton is probably one of the most popular DJs in New York right now. To what do you attribute his popularity?
I wish I knew. I mean, I would say his voice and his style, you know. He has a unique voice in that it's, you know, I hate to say it, but it's like a kind of a sandpaper, but, you know, he attracts that kind of, you know, command to the people, you know, they have to listen to him. It's not that he has that much of positive lyrics, but he tends to mix his positive lyrics with, you know, jokes and comedy and stuff like that, and it gets across.
Philip, a friend of mine was visiting from Jamaica 2 weeks ago, and he was appalled by the state of the nightclubs in New York. The nightclubs in New York are, in his own words, the pits, and he believes that people are being overcharged for these nightclubs where toilets don't work, where people can enter with guns, and this is not the sort of thing which people experience at nightclubs in Jamaica. Do you think that nightclub owners are not giving the customers what they deserve?
Well, which nightclub are you talking about? Because there's levels of nightclubs, you know. I mean, if you go to, for example, Love People or I guess Club Jamaica or so, that's a different level. I don't think you can get in with guns and stuff at these clubs. I mean, I'm not sure, but that's one level. If you go to the dance
I should remind you that there was a shootout in Love People less than a month ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's nothing you can do to actually prevent. There's so much you can do. I'm not a security advisor, but I mean, I guess there's just so much anyone can do to prevent actual, you know, acts of violence. I mean, somebody can slip through. People slip through and get on airplanes with guns and stuff. I mean, why not a nightclub, you know? I mean, it's on the ground.
What about class? Some people say that they pay $15 to go into a nightclub or $10, and they're being served in plastic cups, and the fixtures are not the best, and that nightclub owners are really making money, and they're not putting money back into the club simply because they know that Jamaican customers will come anyway.
No, I don't think that's true in that sense. But in New York, it's hard to even get a liquor license, you know, and a lot of these clubs have to really put out a lot of money just to get the liquor license. I mean, I'm on the outside just looking in and saying, well, this club is shabby and they're not serving in good cups and stuff like that. But who knows how much money they put up to get their liquor license or for whatever license they have to get just to stay in operation. So they have to cut back on other overhead expenses to maintain the club, to keep it open. You know what I mean? So it's two sides to every story. We have to know both sides.
At one period, ganja was associated with reggae music, but now there seems to be a new drug in the 85 style, the age of computerized music, which is cocaine. DJs are DJing about under me cocaine, and are glorifying the use of cocaine. Do you think this is very unattractive? Do you think that cocaine is actually taking over reggae music?
Well, that's one thing that strongly against. That has changed the whole outlook of what reggae was for. You know, I mean, reggae was for like godliness, you know, and I guess ganja went with that spiritual thing from Rastafarianism, right? But I think that this is now showing up to a lot of people, you know, that certain people in the business is not really, they only speak, but they're not really into what they're talking about.
Do you think cocaine is a real problem in reggae right now?
Well, to me, it looks like it is a real problem. I can't tell. I have not seen anyone actually using it. I've only heard of certain name, in the business using it, but it can become a big problem.
What names are we talking about?
Um, I don't know if I should say that. I hate to be saying something that I don't know as a fact. I'm not incriminating.
Are you scared of acts of violence?
No, I'm not scared of acts of violence, but I don't like to give, information that I am not sure of myself,
Some people attribute the cocaine connection with reggae to the commercialization of reggae, to reggae being controlled by foreigners, and it's a foreign influence because cocaine is not indigenous to Jamaica. People in Jamaica know of cocaine only from the dentist. And since reggae music started going international and since reggae music started being incorporated into mainstream music, then the cocaine influence suddenly came into reggae. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, Jamaica is influenced a lot by American styles. And anything that is in style in America tends to bleed over into Jamaica.
But cocaine has been in style in America for decades, and it did not come into frequent use into Jamaica until the 1980s. Then cocaine has suddenly become the big thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has been building up in Jamaica for a long time. It was kept quiet, it was kept under covers for a long time. It's now just coming up onto the front page. Everybody is not afraid to say that they're using it anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like back in the 60s, people were using marijuana for years, but nobody was saying anything.
Some people are complaining that reggae music is being stolen from Jamaicans. Artists like Julian Lennon, Sting, Tina Turner are using reggae beats, and the Jamaican artists are not being credited for it when these songs are being played on the air. These songs are not announced to be reggae music. They're just announced by the name of the artist. Do you think reggae is being stolen from Jamaicans?
I don't think it's being stolen. Music is music, or worldwide. I mean, we ourselves use riffs from American songs, from English songs, from in turn, American artists can use riffs from reggae songs. The only problem is that they get the opportunity to break our music where we didn't get that opportunity. That's where the problem is. We should have that opportunity to break our music. Reggae is our music. We should have the opportunity to get the airplay that they have gotten. That's how I look at it. Music is music. It should be shared worldwide. It's a universal thing. It's not we're the owners of reggae, America is the owners of rock music, and England is the owners of this or that. It's a universal language.
Reggae music seems to attract a white audience in America. It doesn't attract a black audience, and yet reggae producers are trying to blend reggae with disco. Logically, shouldn't reggae then be blended with rock and roll, which appeals more to the white audience?
Well, that's the difference. We are trying to get through to the black American audience. Reggae is trying to get through to that, population. They, we can't see why they can't like our music. We love R&B. I mean, that's what we based most of our songs on, is R&B, is our other kind of, the black music. We based our music on black music, and we've been listening to R&B in Jamaica for years. I can't see why American blacks can't accept our music, and we're trying to portray a message in the music, and it's, they're not accepting it.
But if reggae is to survive on a commercial level, shouldn't reggae music then be sold to the highest bidder, which is the white audience?
Well, we're not trying to discriminate. We're not, if the white audience will accept the music more because it was already it was already portrayed to them through the works of Bob and through Burning Spear and all the other major acts. It was portrayed to them originally. They're the ones that caught on first. You know, the Black America tended to hold back and, you know, let's see what this music is dealing with, you know, afterwards. Now we're trying to get the message across to them to show them that, hey, this is, you know, this is music too, accept us.
But the major reggae acts are moving away from roots reggae. Black Uhuru, Third World, Jimmy Cliff, all these major artists are moving towards mainstream music. Do you think this is a trend which is developing in the music, or do you think it's just a phase through which the music is passing?
Well, you know, it's levels of the business. You know, the record companies want them to sell more records. And to reach a wider audience, you have to do certain levels of music. You have to do that to bridge the gap. They're trying to bridge the gap now so that people will look and say, well, Third World, that's a group out of Jamaica. They're a reggae group. Let's look into reggae. And these major groups are what gives the other minor groups, the younger producers and artists, the chance to be accepted to sell more records because they're bridging the gap.
A friend of mine told me that the word producer in the Jamaican sense is a misnomer because most Jamaican producers have no creative input into the music whatsoever. He's merely a financer. He puts up the money, the artist comes in, and he does whatever he pleases as long as the producer feels that he will get his returns. Do you have thoughts on this?
1 minute.
Some people believe that the word producer in the reggae sense is a misnomer because producers have very, very little creative input into the music. They're mainly financiers who await their returns. Do you think that this lack of creativity on the part of producers is one of the reasons for the stagnation of the music?
Well, producers in Jamaica is a different terminology for producers in Jamaica. You know, that's a Jamaican terminology. In America, producers is somebody with a musical background and he has something to do with the actual production of the music. In Jamaica, a producer is anyone that has the money to put up to do a song. He could be musical too. You know, in Jamaica, it's just a person that's... in Jamaica, it means an executive producer here. An executive producer here is a person that finances the project. The producer is a person that sees that the project is done properly and musically and everything.
So from where does the creative input come?
Well, most of the creative input in reggae is done from the artist. The vocalist writes most of his songs. In Jamaica, there's not a writer, an arranger, and an artist. In Jamaica, the artist is the writer. The musicians become partially arrangers and writers too.
Do most reggae artists have musical ability?
No, not really.
So if producers do not have musical ability and the artists do not have musical ability, who has ability?
Who has ability? Well, I mean, the musicians must have ability, right? They're the ones that play the track. They're the ones that most is instrumental in making these songs. If you go behind the scenes, you'll see the bass player or the keyboard player, the guitarist doing a lot of added work, extra work for free, you know, helping out with the vocal parts, you know, helping out with, changing lyrics around, and a lot of other things, you know.
Philip Smart, I'm going to ask you 2 more questions before I go. If you were granted 3 wishes by a genie and you had to make 3 wishes for reggae, what 3 wishes would you make?
One wish is that it would be accepted worldwide as music, as reggae music international. The second is for more people in the business to live from the business and not suffer, meaning that they can survive on releasing records and making some money from it and not being ripped off, you know what I mean? And third of all, for some new talent and new variety to come forth in reggae music, you know, so we can say we have various different varieties. More artists trying to sing and stop trying to DJ in that sense, you know, and project the music in a different direction too, you know, and have it in all levels.
Philip Smart, today is August 9th, 1985. If I see you again on August 9th, 1995, where do you think reggae music will be?
That's a good question. Where will it be? You know, maybe in the universe. You know, who knows? I think it will. You know, it's gonna be a slow process. It's not gonna make it tomorrow. It's gonna take generations of new and attractive musicians and artists to break the music to where we want it to reach. It has done considerably good for where it's coming from, and there is no stopping it. It shall reach to where it should be in time to come.
Phyllis Matt, thank you very much for your time. It was a very interesting interview. Thank you. I wish you all the success over WNYU. And on your show tonight, you can say hello to me.
I'll try and do that. What's your name?
Okay.